Okay, let's dig into this. We've all had that feeling, haven't we? You're busy, things seem to be moving, maybe money's coming in.
Mm,
But how do you really know if you're doing well?
yeah. Is the business actually, succeeding or just, running in place?
Exactly. It's the fundamental question.
It is. And look, that gut feeling, it's just not enough for a business, whether it's huge or just starting out. They need um, concrete ways to measure things, progress against goals.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's precisely what this material we've been looking at focuses on. It
Mm.
kind of lays out the tools, the concepts businesses use to cut through the noise and get real answers.
Yeah, to evaluate success, efficiency, effectiveness, all that.
And I think the key thing right at the start is that this evaluation helps them see a few things, doesn't it? Like,
Okay.
are they doing what they planned?
Right. Are they hitting targets? Are they actually improving over time?
Yeah.
And critically, how do they stack up against the competition?
And the material makes this really important distinction early on, effectiveness versus efficiency. Let's break that down.
Okay. So, effectiveness. The source frames it pretty simply as doing the right things,
Meaning,
meaning, are you achieving the objectives you set out? So, the example given is like if your goal is profit and you increase profit,
oh,
well, that's effective. Simple as that.
got it. Doing the right thing, achieve the goal.
Exactly.
And then there's efficiency. That's different.
Yeah, efficiency is more about how you achieve that goal. Are you using your resources well? Are the benefits you're getting clearly outweighing the costs, the resources you poured in?
Okay, so it's about the way you do it.
Uh-huh. The material uses this example.
Hmm.
If a business cuts down on waste, uses fewer resources while still hitting its profit target, that shows efficiency.
Right, because they achieve the goal and use resources better. Makes sense.
Yeah. It's not just what you did, but how smartly you did it.
And it mentions big players like Telstra.
Yeah.
You have to look at both.
Oh, absolutely. At that scale, you're constantly juggling effectiveness, hitting market goals, and efficiency managing massive costs and operations.
So how do they track this? How do they measure it?
Well, that's where KPIs come in, key performance indicators. These are the specific criteria they use, the metrics.
To measure both efficiency and effectiveness across different parts of the business.
Precisely. They help evaluate if objectives are being met, and importantly, they can actually drive change. You see a KPI slipping, you know you need to act.
Okay, so there's a cycle here the material points out. Set objectives, develop strategies to meet them.
And then use KPIs to evaluate if those strategies are actually working. It's a feedback loop.
And where does the data for these KPIs come from? Is it all financial?
No, not at all. That's a key point. It's varied. You've got, yes, accounting reports, but also marketing stats, customer feedback, employee surveys, even just direct observation of operations.
A whole range of inputs. Okay, so with that foundation, effectiveness, efficiency, KPIs based on real data, let's dive into some of the specific KPIs, the material details. These are the numbers that really matter day to day for businesses.
Sounds good. First one mentioned is percentage of market share.
Right, your slice of the pie.
Exactly. It's your business's sales compared to the total sales for the entire industry or market segment you're in. You calculate it by, dividing your sales by the total market sales.
Why is this so important?
Well, if your market share is going up, that's usually a very strong signal you're succeeding, probably taking business from competitors.
And the material uses Telstra again here.
It does. It points out Telstra has held over 40% of the Australian mobile market for about 10 years.
Wow, that's dominant.
Yeah, and it contrasts that with Optus, which is usually somewhere in the 20–30% range. So that KPI, market share, clearly shows Telstra's stronger performance in that specific fight over a long time.
Okay, market share. What's next? Something probably pretty fundamental.
Net profit figures,
Yeah.
absolutely fundamental.
We hear profit a lot, but net profit is specific, isn't it?
Very specific. It's not just revenue minus some costs. It's revenue minus all expenses, operating costs, materials, salaries, marketing, interest on loans, taxes, everything. It's what's truly left over.
The bottom line.
The bottom line. And for investors, for shareholders, this is the number. It's their return, essentially. High net profit, great sign, healthy business.
And low or negative.
Red alert. It signals problems. Could be sales are down, could be costs are out of control, maybe service issues are driving customers away. Something's wrong.
And businesses track this over time, obviously.
Oh, yeah. The material mentions looking at Telstra's net profit over several years, like from financial year 2018 to 2021, using their annual reports. It shows how large organizations monitor this long-term trend.
Okay. moving from pure profit to how things get done.
Yeah.
Efficiency.
Right. And a key one here is the rate of productivity growth.
Productivity itself is what outputs over input.
Basically, yeah. How much you get out for what you put in. Are you efficient with your resources, time, materials, labor?
So productivity growth means you're getting better at it.
Exactly. It means you're using resources more efficiently over time, either getting more output for the same input or maybe the same output using fewer inputs.
Less waste, essentially.
In a broad sense, yes, it's a core measure of operational efficiency. The material notes, it's really important for operations managers and HR departments.
Makes sense. Another one that seems pretty straightforward is number of sales.
Yep, just the raw count of how many products or services you sold.
Seems basic, but tells you a lot.
It really does. Gives you that immediate pulse check on performance. And it's crucial for judging things like, say, a marketing campaign. Did it actually lead to more people buying?
Right. You'd expect sales to jump after a big ad spend.
You'd hope so. And the material points out that businesses often look at the trend. Are sales increasing over time? That usually signals customer satisfaction and market acceptance, even if maybe short-term profit takes a hit because you spent a lot on that campaign.
Because the idea is those increased sales will drive bigger profits down the line.
Exactly. Long-term growth.
There were some examples here too, right? With car companies.
Yeah, pretty stark ones. Toyota sales in Australia back in 2021, over 223,000 cars. That dwarfed competitors like Mazda or Hyundai individually.
So Toyota's strategy was clearly working in terms of volume.
Definitely. And while they were strong, the data showed others like Nissan, Subaru actually saw their sales decline. So this single KPI, number of sales, reveals those competitive shifts.
And the material mentions Toyota using things like concept cars. How does that fit?
Well, it's part of keeping the brand exciting, generating buzz, maintaining interest, which hopefully translates into continued strong sales down the track. It's about future-proofing those numbers.
Interesting. And it also touches on how different businesses track sales.
Yeah, just briefly. Small business might be, manual tally or a basic spreadsheet. A big supermarket chain, they've got sophisticated systems analyzing point-of-sale data, identifying trends, patterns, even automating reorders for stock.
Right, scale makes a difference. Okay, let's shift gears a bit to the people involved. Staff metrics.
Yes, absolutely critical. First one is rate of staff absenteeism.
So people not showing up when they're scheduled to work.
Now, obviously, some absence is normal. People get sick, have emergencies, and the source even makes a point that a certain level can actually indicate a positive relationship, like trust between employer and employee.
But the key is the rate, especially if it's rising.
Exactly. A rising trend in absenteeism is a big warning sign. It often points to deeper issues, maybe low morale, job dissatisfaction, poor management, a stressful work environment. Something's making people not want to come to work.
Okay. And related to that, I guess, is level of staff turnover.
Very related. Turnover is the number or rate of employees leaving the business who then need to be replaced.
And this tells you about
Staff satisfaction, primarily. It's a key HR indicator. Again, some turnover is totally normal. Even healthy people get promoted internally, move cities, retire.
But high turnover is bad news.
Very bad news. If your turnover rate is consistently high or suddenly spikes, it strongly suggests employees aren't happy, and it's costly. Think about recruitment costs, training new people, the lost productivity while the new person gets up to speed, loss of knowledge.
Yeah, it adds up quickly. Does it give any figures?
It mentions an Australian Bureau of Statistics figure for the year ending February 2022. The average turnover rate was about 9.5%. So nearly 1 in 10 employees leaving and needing replacement within a year on average.
Okay. Let's go back to operations efficiency. What about wastage?
Level of wastage. Yeah, this measures the amount of material that's basically unusable or unwanted during the production process.
So scrap material, defective products.
Exactly. It's a direct measure of inefficiency in operations. It could be inefficient use of raw materials, leftover bits, products that don't meet quality standards, things that have no market value, or even materials that cause environmental issues.
And reducing waste obviously helps the bottom line.
Directly. Cuts production costs, improves resource use.
Any examples of tackling this?
Yeah, the material mentions Nobody Denim, the clothing company. They were looking at waste generated from online shopping returns, things like the postal bags.
Oh, right. Lots of plastic there usually.
So they started initiatives like salvaging those bags, using compostable packaging instead, and also trying to reduce returns in the first place by providing better sizing information online.
Smart. So focusing on that wastage KPI drove specific changes.
Precisely.
Okay, what about the customer perspective?
Number of customer complaints. A very direct measure of dissatisfaction.
Pretty self-explanatory, I guess. More complaints bad.
Generally, yes. High or increasing complaints clearly signal problems with the product, the service, the experience, and that can directly hit sales and damage your reputation.
And fewer complaints means things are going well.
It suggests the business is doing a better job of meeting customer expectations, yeah. But the material makes a really interesting point here, the tip of the iceberg idea. Meaning, for every one customer who actually takes the time to formally complain, there might be many, many others who were unhappy but just didn't bother saying anything. They might just switch to a competitor.
Ah, right. So the actual number might underrepresent the real level of dissatisfaction.
Could do, yeah. So businesses need to take complaints very seriously.
Telstra comes up again here too, doesn't it?
It does. It mentions they have formal systems for logging complaints and points to their decision in 2022 to bring call center jobs back to Australia. That decision was apparently influenced, at least in part, by ongoing customer complaints about the previous offshore service.
Shows that KPI can lead to major strategic shifts.
Definitely.
Okay, moving online. Number of website hits.
Yeah, this one's a bit technical, maybe. A hit is technically a request to a web server for any file, an image, a page, etc. So one page view can generate lots of hits.
But for a business, what are they really tracking here?
They're generally using it as a proxy for how many potential customers are visiting their site, engaging with their online presence, especially useful after, say, running online ads. Did it drive traffic?
But just visiting isn't enough. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely not. As the source notes, the really important thing is tracking what happens after the hit. How many visitors actually buy something or sign up for a newsletter or fill out a contact form? You need to track conversions, not just traffic.
Got it. Hits are step one. Conversion is the goal.
Yeah.
One more. Safety.
Number of workplace accidents. This tracks any unplanned event that causes injury to people or damage to property within the workplace.
And why is this a performance indicator?
Well, an unsafe workplace is obviously terrible for employees, but it also hits productivity hard. Accidents cause downtime, investigations, potential legal issues, lower morale.
So a falling rate is good.
A falling rate indicates safety measures are working, the environment is getting safer. It's tracked closely by HR, operations, and it's heavily regulated, too, by bodies like WorkSafe under WHS legislation.
Does it give any stats on this?
Yeah, it mentions over 120,000 serious injury claims per year in Australia, which sounds like a lot, but that number has actually dropped significantly by about 23% over 10 years.
So improvement overall.
Improvement overall, yes. But it also makes the crucial point that the picture isn't uniform. Some industries still have much higher risks. Agriculture, forestry, fishing are specifically mentioned as having the highest rates of workplace fatalities.
So this KPI can really highlight risks in specific areas.
Exactly. It allows for targeted safety efforts.
Okay, wow. That's quite a list of metrics. So stepping back, understanding all these specific things, market share, profit, sales, productivity, absenteeism, turnover, waste, complaints, web hits, accidents. What's the big takeaway for someone listening?
Well, I think it gives you the actual language, the framework that businesses use to measure themselves. It helps you look past the glossy annual report narrative or the marketing speak.
And see the hard numbers they're actually looking at.
Exactly. It lets you understand the data points that are driving their decisions, whether you're evaluating a company as an investor or just trying to understand business news or even thinking about how to measure success in your own work.
Yeah.
This gives you the toolkit.
It's like getting behind the curtain a bit.
Yeah, it demystifies how performance is actually assessed. You're seeing the metrics they use internally.
So bringing it all together then, the core message from this material seems to be businesses must measure performance. It's not optional.
Not if they want to survive and thrive, no. They're constantly striving for both effectiveness, doing the right things, and efficiency, doing things right.
And these KPIs we've discussed, they're the specific criteria, the yardsticks they use to judge if they're succeeding on both fronts and to figure out where they need to improve or change direction.
Absolutely. They provide the objective feedback needed to manage the business effectively.
Which leaves us with a final thought, perhaps. Something for you, the listener, to mull over.
Yeah, building on all this. Given how intensely businesses track these specific metrics, profit, market share, sales volume, efficiency measures like waste and productivity growth, even staff turnover, what does that intense focus tell you about their real underlying priorities? perhaps even more than their official mission statement does. What truly shapes their decisions day in, day out?